Hello people, today I'm going to be talking about visuals against time. Now I made a video on visuals a long while ago, but I wasn't really happy with it, so this is sort of a redo. Plus there's some additional details that I'd like to talk about. This video is going to have a large focus on visuals and gaming, and not to say visuals are the most important aspect of a game, but they do have an impact on the game's experience. It's the first thing we see of a game, and it can relay a sense of polish, charm, or believability of a title and its world. There are multiple aspects that do the same for a gaming experience, such as the sound design, storytelling, and gameplay, but I'm just saying that all these aspects should be taken with care and attention. So visuals and how the passing of time affects them are what I'm focusing on today. Now when I look at visuals, I look at graphical fidelity and art direction. Art direction to me is the main art style of the game, its own personal sense of character or portrayal of subject matter. For example, Wind Waker has a very distinct art style. So does Hollow Knight, Bastion, Ori and the Blind Forest, Okami, the list goes on. Then when it comes to graphical fidelity, I think about particular aspects like resolution or details such as models, textures, post-processing effects, and so on. Animation is another aspect, but that can be a topic of its own. But just to get it out of the way, animation can be used to establish this sense of tangibility, flow, or impact within a game, and in some cases it can be an integral part of the game's charm and art style itself, an example being Dragon Ball FighterZ or the Guilty Gear series. The animation in these games are just superb. Anyhow, I'm normally someone who values a game with great art direction, but I can still very much appreciate a game with high graphical fidelity. For example, titles like the latest God of War, Uncharted 4, Witcher 3, or Red Dead Redemption 2 look absolutely spectacular. The amount of detail put into characters, environments, and animation is breathtaking. It makes the games and their worlds feel that much more tangible and believable. What's pretty cool though is that we've sort of reached a point in visual fidelity that even if time passes and visuals get more and more realistic or cinematic, I'd argue that these games would still look good. Don't you think this would still be attractive in the future? Then again, I don't know what the future holds. Who knows, this may actually seem too dated at some point in time. But being dated isn't always a bad thing. For example, the Crash Bandicoot games look dated back on the PS1, but I still think they look appealing, especially if you turn up the resolution on them. They still make a great use of color, the environments are lush and interesting, and the animations are still very expressive and fun to watch. It's dated, but not bad. Then some games really do start to show their age and they may not look as appealing as they used to be in certain aspects, such as models, textures, and animations. And it's usually games that were trying to execute a realistic to semi-realistic art style, counting on the most recent graphical tech to boost their game's visuals. But this brings me to my next point. Having great or unique art direction can make your game almost feel timeless. If you were to once again up the resolution on the original Wind Waker or Okami, they would still look pretty damn good because they're being carried by their art style. And I could say the same for a bunch of modern games like Breath of the Wild, or indie titles like Gris, Cuphead, Jotun, Seasons After Fall, the list goes on. The art direction in these games are just solid, and even if generations pass, I'd once again argue that these games would still be appealing to the public eye. Another form of art I adore is pixel art. I just love this shit. There's so many games that just look so attractive to me in this style that are available now, or in development as we speak. And even though you may think, oh, this is pretty retro or old school, funnily enough, I'd once again say this is timeless. I find there's games from the 16-bit to 32-bit era that look attractive even now, and these games are pretty damn old. And that brings me back to saying that being dated or old isn't always a bad thing. It depends on how the developers executed the game's image, but usually a solid art direction carries a title's visuals through the annals of time. I can go on about what games' visuals would age well for generations to come, but I'd be here forever. An example would be Bloodborne for me though. The execution of its gothic and Lovecraftian inspirations is just splendid, and even if this game's graphical details may age at some point, I still think people would be pleased by its style and visuals. But with that being said, even if a game's visuals could be dated at some point in time, that doesn't mean the game itself will be dated. For example, there's good reasons outside of visuals to play games like New Vegas or something like Bully. So like I stated before, I don't think visuals are the most important aspect of a game, but it's still a considerable building block for a gaming experience, and depending on how it's executed and the art direction that's taken, a title can almost be a timeless classic, unhindered and instead enhanced by something like their visuals. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.